All right, we're going to take a look at 4.2.2. This is continuing to practice graphing systems of inequalities. So the first thing we're going to do here, I have some single inequalities, and we're just going to identify some things. Less with the graphing and more with the shading, and if it will be a solid or dashed line. So we're going to talk about solid or dashed, which means we're going to look at our inequality, and if it does not have an or equal to, so we would read this as y is less than, it does not have the or equal to underneath it. So this is going to be a dashed line. And then we're going to say, we're also going to indicate if we shade up or down. If y is less than, this is going to be shaded down. So here we're looking, this is going to be a solid line. I'll show us in red because of this or equal to. So this is going to be a solid line. And then in purple, y is greater than, so this is going to be shade up. We're going to shade up above our line. In red, equal to means we are going to use a solid line. In purple, y is less than, so this is shade down. Or below is another word that we use. So here I have no or equal to sign underneath, so this is going to be a dashed line. And this is going to shade up. So no or equal to down here, so this is going to be a dashed line. And we are going to, this is less than, so we are going to shade down. No or equal to, so this is going to be dashed. And y is greater than, so we shade up. We do have an equal to here, so this is going to be a solid line. And y is less than, so it's telling us to shade down. Solid line, which means, or we have or equal to, which means solid line. A line underneath means we're going to use a solid line. And then y is greater than, so this means we're going to shade up. I'm not going to do all of these. Let's take a look at just some single lines here before we get to our double lines. So we use M and B to graph. So my B here is 4, so I'm going to begin at 4 and put a point. My M is negative 4 over 1, so I'm counting down 1, 2, 3, 4, and then over 1 and putting a point. Once I've put those 2 points, then I'm determining, is this going to be solid or dashed? And remember, based on what we just worked on, we're looking down here. This one's going to be a solid line, so I am going to put a solid line through my points. Something like that. So we have a solid line. And then we're saying, do we shade up or down? Again, I'm looking here, and that tells us to shade down. So we're going to shade below, which is everything underneath my, my y-axis. So everything on this side of my line is going to be shaded. Okay, so we begin at negative 4. We would count down 5, right 2. That negative 5 over 2 is telling us to go down and right. I don't have enough room to do that, so I'm going to do the exact opposite. I'm going to go up and left. So I'm going to go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and left 1, 2. Put my point. I'm looking here to see solid or dashed. It's telling me dashed line because it's not or equal to. It's just less than. And less than means that we're going to shade everything below our line. So I'm going to look at my y-intercept and then shade below my line based on that. Okay, this one's telling us we're going to start at positive 5, that's our B, and then we're counting down 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right 1, 2, 3. There's my point there. I guess I made a line, which I didn't want to do because this is supposed to be a dashed line. So no or equal to's means we want a dashed line through our points there. And then we are determining, do we shade up or down? Y is greater than, so we're going to shade above on this side of our y-intercept. So everything over here is above my line. Okay, and then number 4, we begin at 0. There's no B. So we count up 1, right 2. And then this is a dashed line, so I'm going to put a dashed line through this. And we shade down. Y is less than, so we shade down. So as long as we can identify, there are 4 pieces of information we need to identify. We need to identify our B, which is where we began, and our M, which is how we move. We use those to graph our line. And then we see if our line is solid or dashed by looking at our inequality to see if it's less than or equal to. When we have a line underneath, it's solid. If there's no line like this one, it's dashed. And then the last thing we're looking at is, do we shade up or down? And that is based on, is our inequality facing away from our y? Like, is it eating our equation? And if so, this is going to be shaded down. If it is eating our y, it's shaded up. So those are the 4 things we're looking at. So let's take a look at this system here. And in this system of inequalities, I'm going to do a blue one and a red one. So my top inequality I'll do in red. My bottom inequality I'll do in blue. I'm going to do everything. So I'm going to graph. I'm going to shade on my red equation. And then I'm going to go back and do my blue equation. So for my red equation, I begin at 2. I'm counting down 5 over 1. This is a solid line, so I'm going to put a solid line through my points. And y is greater than, so I'm shading above my y-intercept. Okay, so I'm going to shade everything on this side of my line. Now that I've done everything, I'm going to go back and take care of my blue line, or my blue equation. So y is greater than, so negative x minus 2, so I'm going to start at minus 2 and count down 1, right 1. And this is going to be a dashed line, so dash, 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 dash all the way through. And y is greater than, so I'm shading above. So I'm going to shade everything on this side of my blue line. There we go. Okay, so where red and blue meet, that's purple, which is this area in here. Everything in here is part of my answer. So if I pick any point like 3, 2, that is a solution to this set of inequalities. just do a couple more with you here. Again, I'm going to do my first equation in red, my second equation in blue. I do the full equation all the way through my first one, and then I go all the way through my second one. So my first equation, I'm going to begin at 3 and count up to right 1. It is a dashed line. I really didn't like that line. That's a little better. And then I'm shading everything below because it is less than. So here's below my line is this whole region down here. Everything down here is a solution to that equation or inequality, to my red one. Now I'm going to take a look at my blue one. I'm beginning at -2. I'm counting up 1, right 3. And I'm going to use a solid line on this one because it is equal to. So that means any points that are on the line are also included in my solution or can be used. Y is less than, so I'm shading everything below this line. If you notice, these make kind of 4 sections every time. So I'm going to point this out. There's like this little tiny sliver here, that's one section. And then I have this big piece up here, that's section 2. So I have 1, 2. I have this section in here, which is section 3. And then I have this bottom section here, which is section 4. And if you notice then, in section 4, that's where our overlap is. So everything in here is a solution to both of my equations. Everything here is not a solution to either. Everything here is a solution to only my red, and everything in here is a solution to only my blue. All right, let's just take a look at one more here. So we have a red equation. We have a blue equation. And for our red equation, we're going to begin at +3 and then count down 4, right 1. And that is going to be a solid line because it is equal to. So we only really pay attention to all the information in our first equation first, and then we will change our gears and look at our blue equation. So for my red equation, y is greater than. So here's where I'm looking. I'm looking right here. Above goes greater than, less than goes below. So greater than is on this side. So I'm going to go ahead and shade my greater than side, which is everything over here. Now that I've done that, I'm going to go back to my blue and take care of my blue equation. So I'm beginning at -3 for my blue equation, and then I'm counting up to right 1. This is a dashed line because it is not equal to. And I am shading everything below. So again, I've created 4 sections here. I have this piece where all of the points in here are not solutions. They would not work for either of our equations. Everything in here would work only for our red equation. Everything in here would be a solution only for our blue equation. And everything in here is a solution to both equations, which is what we want. So I could pick any point inside of this area, and it would be a solution to our equation. There are a lot of points in here. Okay? So that is just continuing as we look at graphing systems of inequalities.